Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink I have in sample form by Diamine. I wrote it the way it was on the bottle, which was green/black, but apparently it's green-black. So, yeah. It's a very nice, very dark green. Yeah. All the tests were done in this Pilot MR, which is the European version of the Metropolitan, which means that, well, first of all, it takes Standard International, which I love, but also, even though it says medium on the nib, it's sold as a fine, so, yeah. I really like this pen. Anyways, let's check out the chromatography, which is rather interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a brown base in an ink like this before. It's a very light tan color. It's almost like a khaki, almost touches on orange. You know, usually you see like a gray or even like an almost black, but this is like a light tan brown thing going on. But yeah, then it goes into sort of like a lighter green, almost like a teal at the corners, and then a basic sort of foresty green, and then a near black, like ebony green right at the top. So let's start the paper test. Top down in density, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. Very dark. That is the downside of using such a small nib. It's a little hard to get on camera. 15 seconds to dry, but I feel like here in the, that's where you really see some green. I say that I feel like it could pass in a formal setting because it is very dark. You'd have to be paying close attention to really notice the green. But as you can see, it made a mess. And what's there is not a great deal darker than what washed away, and it's sort of spotty. So, yeah, no bleed feather spread though. Next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, where it took 4 seconds to dry. Or sorry, 14 seconds to dry. And here I feel like the green comes through just a little more. It's still very dark. You still get some nice shading. No bleed feather spread. I said there's some echo potential, which was surprising because it's such a small nib. But so in a larger nib, it would definitely be something to keep an eye on. Here, yeah, that's gone. I mean, yeah, that's hard to read. On camera, it's coming out a little darker, but I mean, it dyed the paper a little bit, but it's pretty much gone. So, yeah. Next is Tomoe River Paper, where again, where it's dark, it is essentially black, and where it's extremely thin, it's very green. But here you can see there's like this black pearlescent sheen that I only noticed as I was getting ready to film this. So, yeah, 18 seconds to dry, which, I mean, for such a fine nib, you know, it's a little disappointing, but, yeah, I think it could be used in professional settings. There's no bleed feather spread. Dots take forever to dry, and that's really gone. I mean, it dyed the paper, but it's really, really gone, which, after looking at the chromatography test, I thought there'd be more to see, but not really. And even for such a fine nib, the echo is definitely something to keep an eye on. Next is 20-pound copier paper, where it took 1.5 seconds to dry. And there's bleed and feather and spread, and at this point I feel like we shouldn't be surprised. But it was disappointing considering this is kind of a fine nib. And that looks like Swamp Thing got loose. That's just, I mean, here's the first time we see that brown khaki thing. But, I mean, this really looks like an algae farm. This looks like the Toxic Avenger. But, yeah, it's nasty. It dyed the paper. It exploded. It feathered. That's a decent amount of bleed through for a fine nib. And, I mean, that's really bad, but, yeah. Next is Mead Notebook Paper, where it took 4 seconds to dry, which I can't really explain. There's almost no feathering, which is nice. There's much less bleed than expected. There's a bit of spread, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't get obscenely broad. Again, we start to see a little bit of that brown peeking through, but mostly it's just explodey green, which is somewhat disappointing. See, it could have been a lot worse, and a lot of the bleed through is here at the side, which makes me think it might be part of the pressing process. Ugh. Yeah, sometimes when I put the drop of water down, it leaks through the paper and then starts migrating upwards, which is why you see these, like, peaks. God, that's annoying. Anyways, last is Moleskine Notebook Paper, where it took 6 seconds to dry, and I feel like here it really came out quite green, but there's bleed, feather, and spread. You get a teeny bit of shading, but you also get, I mean, it's pretty ugly. I don't like it very much, and considering this is already a fine nib, I wasn't impressed with this showing. So the PPI combo, pen, paper, and ink combo, and this is a disaster. Like, it's an utter disaster. It's real bad. I mean, like, you can see where the ink started to migrate to the wrong place on the other side of the paper. Yeah, it was just a bad showing there, but, there you go. There's Diamine green/black, or green-black. It's a nice dark green ink. I really like it. I would love it in a nice broad stub, but, yeah, I know that sometimes these dark inks, these saturated inks, you know, on the cheap papers, you got to give them their fair shot. So I put it in a fine nib. So there you go for your consideration. Diamine green black. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching.